Well, so welcome everybody to my talk, 8 healthy recipes using Angular and RxJS. Well, so a little bit before I start about myself, I think Robert has said it all. So I'm for Angular. I'm really involved in women empowerment communities such as Women Who Code and Women Who Code Frontend and NG Girl. I've been into Angular for the past few years. I'm GD for Angular, and I'm a content creator and the founder of Angular Tunisia. That's it. And so let's jump right into it. And before I start a little bit, it's a disclaimer. Okay, so all food pictures here in the presentation are purely made for aesthetic purposes. Okay, so it does not reflect any of the Angular RxJS concept. Don't try to make relations. It doesn't make sense. Okay, but it's okay. So the idea behind this talk is to share with you my healthy recipes using Angular and RxJS. And when I say healthy here is something that you can achieve using Angular and RxJS at the lowest cost, okay? With minimum code, and you're good to go. And this will be, well, good for you because your code will be highly maintainable and it will make your application reactive friendly, okay, more and more. And I will show you every time a situation I experienced and how I solved it using especially RxJS, okay, in Angular. And let's start with the first recipe, which is bulk operation or running parallel network requests. Okay, so I think that we experienced all this case in web applications. You are faced to run parallel requests after a click on one action or submitting a form or something from this kind. And maybe you request many APIs, server APIs. Yeah, I'm speaking about RESTful backends. Maybe you're doing any prior treatment. So this is the idea behind bulk. Okay, so suppose you have this this UI layer, you have your Angular component, and you have a server, your server, which contains your APIs. And here, after clicking on an action, you will send many requests to your server. Okay, you will call your API many times. Okay, and when it's successful, okay, so your action is complete. And when it's not, when an error happens, you should notify the user to tell that something wrong happens, okay? You gain in performance and during parallel treatments, maybe sometimes it blocks the user, sometimes it's not, but this is the idea, it's a bulk operation. And an example of this is upload, okay? Uploading files. Maybe you have to upload many files in one shot. Okay, after clicking on an action, you have to upload many files to upload all, and you only have one API that uploads file by file. You don't support this multi-part form content in your server. So you should upload the files one by one. And once you finished, you have to notify the user that the files are uploaded successfully. And if something wrong happens, you should tell the user why this happens. Okay, if it makes sense to tell him, for example, if the size of the file exceeded one limit, or if the file type is not supported, for example. Okay, so the user should know. So you should notify him. So this is the specification. This is my use case. And those are the ingredients we need in order to solve this, okay? We need fork join, finalize, and catch error operators and a custom function, okay? So let's start with fork join. It's this operator falls under the category of combination operators, okay? Whether you want to combine streams, you may think of it, maybe it's a candidate, or you can search among others. But in our case, fork join is the candidate and why? Because fork join, I call it severe because it only emits one time when all the streams complete. Okay, so it waits for all the streams to complete. It emits one time the last value of each observable of each stream, and then complete the stream. Okay, for this case here we have 3 streams. The last value emitted by the first one is E. The second one is 4, and the third one is G. So here what you will have as a result after the fork join operator, respectively in the order you pass to the fork join, okay? Because the fork join takes an array of streams or an array of observables. And in my case, I don't know, I want just to launch the request, and I don't care what happens throughout the process. I don't care, but just I will launch the first request, the second one, the third one, the last one. When you complete, just notify me, okay? Tell me if it's okay or it's not. That's what I need. And in the case of uploading files, okay? So this is what it looks like in terms of code. Here I have 2 requests, 2 streams. The first stream is relative to the first request. The second one is relative to the second request. And I am calling the upload file with different inputs, okay? And my upload file signature is the following. I take a file as input and just receive the file status, whether it's okay or it's not. And with the fork join, I will fork those streams together, okay? This first one, the second one. And just launch, okay? When I will subscribe to this, I will launch the process, go do your job and tell me what happens later. And this is the result, okay? You will receive an array which contain respectively the last status of the first request and the last status of the second request, etc. And yeah, I'm here just login files uploaded successfully. Yeah, and the stream will complete. Okay, in the real world, in the real world application, you will not create the streams one by one as I did now, because the number of streams will be dynamic. Okay, you don't know how many files the user will upload. You don't know how many bulk operations the user will do or the application will need. Okay, so no problem. You can just map your array. You put your operations in an array and then map it and return an observable of each operation, and then pass this array of observables to the fork join. Just a command, yeah, but this is an example, so it should be simple. Now I said, so here is the happy case, okay? The happy case, all the files were uploaded successfully, nothing wrong happens. And this is not conform to my specifications, to my specification I described earlier, okay? Because when something wrong happens, this is the success callback. And when something wrong happens, when the upload file throws an error, for example, as I said, the fork join is severe. So when an error is thrown, the stream will be completed again, okay? And you will not get, nothing is emitted. You're like, hello, what happened? And you don't know what happened. Nothing is emitted because the stream has completed and an error happens, okay? So this is not good, okay? This will not be conform to your specification, and this is not the good implementation. So you have to handle errors in this case. And still, fork join is a good candidate because here you can just wrap your errors. The idea is wrapping your errors and just return an observable that contains, for example, the description of the error. As I said earlier, the files exceeded the limit X, or this PNG type is not supported, for example, by the API. Wherever, it's just an example. So you can catch the error, wrap this error inside an observable and return it. It's kind of keeping the stream alive. Okay, you're keeping it alive. Okay, this error happens, no problem. I will wrap it and I will send again to my fork join stream this observable of error. This way, the fork join will not get upset. Okay, it will continue working, and at the end, it will return the success and the errors. Okay, and you can handle this as you wish. I mean, in your application, you can handle by showing an error message or whatever. And so that's it. I mean, at that point, we handle the error scenario and success scenario. And I think we're good to go. But if you want to execute a side effect to do a process when one of your streams ends, how you can handle this? Okay, it's like bulk. It's like one result for all the streams in one array. You don't know when the first stream has finished or the second stream has finished. You only know that all the streams has finished, and you can do this for all the streams. You can do a success or an error for all an error process, sorry, for all the streams. And in order to solve this and to execute side effects when your stream completes, you can use the finalize operator. Okay, so with every stream, with every created stream, you can override, or not override, but just call the finalize operator to put your custom behavior and to call your process. Again, an example here. In this case, in the case of file uploads, for example, I need to track the progress of the files, of the upload of the files, okay? 30%, 50%, 100%, and it's complete. So the user should see something, should see the progress of this operation. And this is important for bulk operations because they are expensive operations. And for your end user, for better user experience, you should track the progress and display it with progress bar or wherever component, equivalent component. So how can I do this in this case? It's through the finalize. With every finalize, I have implemented my custom function, which calculates the progress percentage of the files. And it's a simple calculation here that I'm doing. And I'm returning in the progress a variable that I can share in my Angular component and can put it as an attribute in my Angular component and then subscribe to it in the view or pass it to my progress bar UI component in order to display in real time the progress of this file. And yeah, as you can see, we did this. So we did three things with only two operators, or let's say fork join, catch error, and finalize. We handled the case of bulk operations, the success, the error, and the side effects when every stream is finished. Well, this is the first use case, the first recipe. Let's move to the second one, which is the caching. And again, here I am in the context of RESTful API and HTTP request and RESTful backend. So here, when I say caching, what am I meaning here? It's like if you have components, I mean, if you have many Angular components, and you have here, I have here my recipe service, which contains the recipe stream, okay? And this is a good pattern to use when working with RxJS and Angular. I mean, it's highly advisable to put the streams in your services, okay, as an attribute in this service, okay? So this way, every component that uses the stream or that needs the stream will only inject the recipe service, inject the service, and subscribe to the stream, which is in a public attribute. Okay, so this way you have a living stream shared between all your components, and your application will be highly reactive. Okay, you can do many things through it. So I said, okay, so it's very good. I put in place the recommended pattern. I put my stream as a public attribute in my service. I am injecting it in my components and I'm subscribing to it in, let's say, 3 or 4 components. And every time I need this update, I need the last value of the stream, or I need to transform it, or to do whatever treatment. Now, if this stream calls an API or will do an HTTP request, with every subscription, you will see the call to this API. So you will see many calls in your network as calls as your subscriptions, okay? And this is not really performant, okay? So you may consider caching the resource. But when I say caching here, be careful. I want to stress something. Not everything is cacheable in your application, okay? Because sometimes I need to get the latest value, and the result is not static, it's dynamic according to some inputs. Okay, maybe the inputs are not the same from one component to another. Okay, so I will not get the same result, and I should not get the same result. So when you cache this data, all the components will see the same data, or in my case, it shouldn't. Okay, every component has his own set of data because my API is dynamic. Okay, so before you cache, just study what you are going to cache, the data you are going to cache. If the data is static and it will not change throughout the application, or at least throughout the user session, do it, just cache it. But if it's dynamic or it's not, I mean, it will differ from one component to another, please don't do it, okay? This will be a total mess. So, as I said, this is where you will see in your network, you will see double calls in your network. It's not good, and I want to cache it. For example, the user info may be cached. The user info information, I don't think that it's something highly editable in the application. But as an example, for example, the user info per session are not will not get modified very often. So I will cache it, for example. This is, let's say, an example. So what we need in this case, we need 2 ingredients, which are the share replay and the catch error. Okay, and the share replay operator. Before I talk about the share replay, I will show you here into code what I was describing. Here I have the recipes dollar, which is my stream that will call an API. It's the getter API. And yeah, here I am just catching the error, and I am calling my custom function to process the error. So here this is the recommended pattern in order to collect streams. Okay, so I have here my stream as a public attribute in my service, so every component can just inject the service and consume it, no problem. Now, in order to cache those data and to cache the result, I will call the share replay component. It will share the observable with all the subscribers. So I will get only one call, not n calls. Okay, so this is the idea. It will be cached internally, and it will be shared with all the subscribers. Okay, and this, if your data is subject to caching, this will really affect positively your performance. It will, it will enhance the performance of your application. Let's move to the third recipe, which is combining streams, or let's say data joining. It reminds me of SQL. Yeah, the days of SQL, and I was combining the data from many tables. I don't know if you can relate, but yeah, it's something good and complex at the same time. But yeah, it's very helpful. Okay, well, as we are working with streams and we are sharing our streams with all the components, we are exposing them in the service. So to make your application highly reactive, you can just retrieve those streams and transform them or combine them in order to display something in the view. Okay, and for this, we'll need the combine latest operator, catch error, and array destructuring strategy. Okay, and for the combination of streams, it's not combine list is not the only operator available over there. Okay, this is the ingredient of my recipe, but if any other operator can match your need, you can use it. And here for my recipe, let's explain the combine latest. The combine latest operator, it's not like the for join. The for join, it's severe. It emits only one time at the end. Combine latest, no, combine latest, it emits throughout the stream. Every time one of the streams emit one data, it will emit in its turn this data and the last data of all the other streams. So the subscriber will always get notified about the latest data throughout the stream, throughout the time. Here, as you can see, the first observer has emitted A, and the second one, 1. So you can see the combined latest will emit for us A and 1. Now, the second one has emitted B, and the first one has emitted B, and the second one has not emitted anything, but the last value is 1. So it will be B1. Now, the second one has emitted 2. And at that time, the last value of the first one is still B. So it will be B2. And so on and so forth. So I get notified about the latest value. And in my case here, let's give an example. I have my recipes and I want to get notified about the reviews of my recipe. The reviews can be different from through the time. Okay, maybe I have now 4 reviews. After 1 hour, I will get 40 or something. And yeah, the user should be notified because I am displaying the recipe and the review of the reviews of this recipe. So every time I want to get the last reviews and to update the view with the most recent value of the data. And this is my service. This is my mock data service. I have here my recipes and I have my reviews. And the API of recipes only return the whole list of recipe without reviews, because the reviews may be, something about 100 reviews or something. I don't know. I don't want to associate the reviews to the recipes every time. But with every review, I have the ID of the recipe associated to this review. Okay, so this is my design. Okay, and maybe the case for other. You may consider or make an analogy with your work or with your use cases. I don't know, but yeah, this is the case. I have the recipes stream, I have the review streams, and what I do here, I am using the combined latest because I want to get the most recent value of the data of each stream. Okay, recipes and reviews, and combined latest takes as input an array of observables, and I am just here mapping the result, and I'm using the array destructuring technique in order to process or do something after both recipes and review streams have emitted something. Okay. Yeah, and it works very well in this kind of situation. Wherever you have in your UI something which is related to another stream, the streams are separated. You don't have you have separate streams. Maybe they are associated with different APIs. Yeah, this is the use case. You want to combine them because when you change something here, you want the view to update there, and things should be smooth to the end user. Yeah, so it's very useful in this case. You just combine latest and it will do the job for you. Now, fourth recipe, okay, we said that it's a recommended pattern to put stream data services, to use them, to combine them, to transform them, inject many services in your components, and play around it. Okay, you can play with it. It's very good. It's very helpful. You can achieve many use cases at the lowest cost with some code, as you saw, bulk operation, etc. But in the process, don't forget the memory management and how you manage unsubscriptions. Okay, so it's good to do all that, but you have to be careful about the memory leaks problems, because you will not be very happy when you get a problem in the production and your client report it. Okay, so we should be aware of this in the development phase. And for this, we will need some ingredients. I will take Antel and async pipe. Not only those two ones, I missed some ingredients here. Okay, no problem. Let's see. So here, the first one, which is asynchronous pipe, async pipe. Yeah, it's you may be familiar if you're working with Angular, you may be familiar for sure with this pipe. If you don't, just give it a try. And here, first of all, this pipe managed the subscription for us, and it best of all, it managed the unsubscription also. Okay, so we are, we are done. Angular do the job for us. I think I am out of time. I don't know, maybe, but I will just do it very quickly. So here, the first candidate is async pipe. And the second one, sometimes you can't always subscribe to your streams in the template, and you are, in situations that you need to subscribe inside the component, okay? So for this case, if you don't have, any choice and you should subscribe inside the component, then consider take until operator, okay? And the take until operator will take the subscription alive, the stream will be alive until the given stream as input will complete. Okay, and you can complete the stream whenever you want in your life cycle. Here in my case, I do it on destroy. I like this pattern when you when it's okay with completing the stream in the destroy of components, but you can associate this to any other observable in your logic. Okay, okay, so we said async pipe, you can do this, and RxJS also can manage the unsubscription for you. And through many operators like take while, take last, first, consider them. If it fits your needs, then use them, because as in this example, here we have this value emitted every 1 second. We have a value emitted 1 second. We will only take 5 values. As you see, this is the output, and we will complete. So the substitution will be complete, as you can see here in the finalize. I log completed, and it's the case. Okay, completed after that. So you can use RxJS operator that handles the subscription for you. Also, when combining streams, etc., and you want to subscribe, here we are using merge. You can use wherever combination you want. The unsubscription, do the unsubscription to the result of combination. Okay, because RxJS manage unsubscribing and completing all the relative streams. Okay, so this is my advice and my recipe for subscription. For avoiding memory leaks or unsubscription. Now, the fifth recipe is sharing data. Okay, sharing data between components. And what we need here, it's one secret ingredient is the behavior subject. Okay, and I see subjects in RxJS as observer and observable at the same time. So you can emit data and receive data, and the behavior subject is a variant of the subject that can store the last value emitted by the observable. So if you are in this context, okay, you have a data that one component update and all the others consume, or maybe the components update and consume all together at the same time. So this data is shared. Now, be careful. If you tell me that you have this context, then please consider state management. In this case, your application is subject to state. You can check NGRX on any other equivalent in order to manage the state of your application. But if your application is not subject to state, maybe you have one kind of data to be shared with your components. You don't need state management. Then this recipe is for you. You may consider the behavior subject. Okay, so here in my healthy recipes, I have this, I need the selected recipe every time because I have other components that will react to this recipe by displaying some details or displaying some information, some properties, etc. So this is a very popular pattern. I just create a behavior subject in my service. Okay, I expose it as an observable, as you can see here, to the external world. And every time I want to update the recipe, or every action will invoke the update of recipe, I just next to this behavior subject the information. For my case here, it's the recipe dot title. It's the title of the recipe. So every other subscriber here in this application will get notified that this is the selected recipe here. It's this one. Yeah, and yeah, here in your component, you just in the on-click event, for example, on any other event, you can trigger or call this this method. Okay, again, sixth recipe, it's the real-time using WebSockets, how to consume real-time data using WebSockets. And again, you can achieve this using RxJS, and the secret ingredient here is WebSocket subject. Okay, so it's a special kind of subject that consumes WebSockets. It's a wrapper around the W3C WebSocket object available in the browser. Okay, so you can just call it, you can create this subject using the WebSocket factory function that's available under the RxJS package, and that takes as input your WebSocket endpoint. This is the first method. The second one is calling this same WebSocket function, but given as input a whole object, which we call WebSocket subject config, that contains many information among the URL and some functions here that you can implement in order to call them as callbacks when the connection is open, for example, or when the connection is closed in order to serialize it, deserialize. There are many properties in this subject that you can override, and you can register callback to some events. A very helpful thing here in the closure of the WebSocket is reconnecting again, okay, because of the real-time world, you don't, okay, let's say when using WebSocket subject config, and when using WebSocket subject available in RxJS, when the socket is closed for whatever reason, it will no longer emit value. It is not the desired behavior in the real-time world. Okay, when the socket is opened again, you should reconnect again and give me again the information. Okay. Else it's not a real-time behavior. So in order to achieve this, you should only register a callback for the closure of the event and call the reconnection again. I spoke very much about this subject. You can find my some code in my GitHub repository and Realtime dashboard. You can find many articles and talks here explaining in detail this kind. It's a deep dive inside the WebSocket subject in general, but here it's a recipe, so I should be brief. Now, let's say batch performance or measure performance is the next recipe, and here don't forget to manage the performance of your application. This is the very healthy recipe in your application. And here there are some ingredients. The first one, Source Map Explorer, which it's an npm package that can be used in order to analyze your bundle. Okay, it will there is an output for you when you run it, which will point out the size of the elements of your bundle. So you can see which elements have the most big size, and you can consider to analyze it. Okay, consider analyzing your bundle size. It's very important because it's the thing that you give to the browser the first time. So the time of the first load of your application will be impacted if the bundles are so heavy. So just consider the bundle size, consider the change detection mechanism, consider using the change detection strategy on push, which will minimize the change detection cycles, okay, only with inputs, outputs, and when something is really emitted, and will enhance your performance. Lazy loading also, not all modules are mandatory from the beginning. Just always remember that you can consume your module when you need. Compress your application when using ngFor in your components many times. Just consider track by, because it will enhance the performance of ngFor, and consider state management if your application is so big and is subject to state. And the last recipe is, okay, so stay healthy here, stay hydrated, and to stay hydrated, you have to upgrade always to the last version. And I highly recommend to upgrade to Angular 11 because there are a lot of great features there. And the secret ingredient is ng update. With one command you're done, you can add --force to this command in order to force the update to the latest packages. And yeah, the last version contains, as I said, many great features like faster builds. And GCC update process is 2 or 4 times faster, because the NGCC process introduced in the Angular 9 runs many compilations, if you want, to the different ES versions. This takes time. You can do things to improve it, but still it's something expensive. Okay, it's an expensive operation. This was fixed in the version 11. There are faster compilation with the upgrade of TypeScript 4.0. There is an experimental Webpack 5 support. Okay, and Webpack support ships with great feature. I'm very excited about Modules Federation because I always watch the talks of Manfred Steyer about micro front ends, etc. And he used the Modules Federation. There's also persistent disk caching, CGS pre-checking to minimize the bundle's size, and persistent disk caching to more performant build times. There are also improved reporting and logging in the CLI, and the language service is updated. And I like this extension so much because it helps you when you are developing with auto-completion, etc. While those are my collection of favorite features, but there are others, you can check out the documentation in order to see the exhaustive list of features. That's it. Thank you very much. Hope you're not hungry after hope you're hungry after my recipes, and you will go and just try those recipes. And if you have any other, if you have your collection of recipes, don't hesitate to share it with me. And yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you very much.